I'm Steve Krashen, formerly associated with USC, now associated with Gold's Gym in Venice, California. What? Actually, I'd rather have a proposal to have espresso machines in all the teachers' lounges and in this room. That just occurred to me now, but we can talk about that later. I have 2 3/4 minutes to tell you everything I know about libraries, the last 30 years of research. It's on a handout that I've asked to be distributed. Let me give you the basics. Number 1, poverty counts, no question. Poverty means food deprivation. It means lack of health care. It means lack of access to books. Children who live in poverty have fewer books at home, sometimes none. Fewer books in their neighborhood, fewer bookstores. They go to schools with inferior classroom libraries, school libraries, etc. You can have the best teaching in the world, and it's not going to help when children are hungry, undernourished, ill, and have nothing to read on their own. The second research result, which I've been associated with for the last 30 years, the more people read for pleasure, free voluntary reading, the higher their literacy scores. We have an astonishing amount of research showing this is true. In-school studies, sustained silent reading, sophisticated statistical analyses, case histories, where we look at successful people and we see a commonality. We see free voluntary reading. We see access to books. I've included 2 cases you can read at your leisure. Jeffrey Canada, the originator of the Harlem Children's Zone, said reading for pleasure did it for him. Liz Murray, a woman who grew up in abject poverty, did very well. It was books that made the difference. Here's the big result. The better the school library, the higher the reading scores. Let me repeat that so we can use it for our bumper stickers and T-shirts. The better the school library, the higher the reading scores, found by researcher Keith Curry Lance. The latest chapter in this rich history of the power of libraries is by a number of studies, and I will include ours just as a random example. If you look at the table in the middle, we have looked at the impact of access to books for children all over the world. Children who score higher on the Pearls examination, an international test given to thousands of children worldwide. The predictors are these: poverty, heavily negative. The amount of free reading you do in school, mildly positive. Library. Access to a library of 500 books or more balances the effect of poverty. Poor children don't read well because they don't have access to books. You give them access to books, they do better. They read like middle-class kids. Instruction, negative. How do you like that? Los Angeles Unified, what do we have here? Kids here don't have a chance. The child poverty rate nationally is 23%, second highest in the world and growing, second highest among industrialized countries.
Dr. Vladimir, could we give him about 2 more minutes?
Thank you. LAUSD, 80%, gigantic, second highest of all major cities in the United States. Access to books, again, our children don't have a chance. Public libraries in Los Angeles were ranked 69th out of 76 cities in the latest report, and all previous reports have found this as well. School libraries, I don't have access to data on number of books, but let's look at school librarians. We have independent research, Keith Lance and others, that the more school librarians per child, the higher the reading scores. In the US, the average is 1 for 900. In California, 1 for every 4,500. We're by far the lowest in the country. It would take a Marshall Plan just to bring us up to Mississippi, who's next up. Take a look at LAUSD, worse, 1 for every 6,500. The usual answer to this is technology. I am optimistic as to the long-term impact of technology, but I think we're doing it too soon, too fast. We need better data. I want to present to you a fiscally conservative, responsible plan. What we want to do, everyone who has studied innovation says, you don't want to be a first-wave innovator, you want to be a second wave. You want all the bugs to be worked out, you want the prices to go down, and you want it to work. Right now, we are pumping in technology, it's technology fever, without any idea whether it's going to work. The fact that we're using it for online testing for the Common Core standards means this is the biggest expense potentially ever in the history of education. It's going to cost billions to have students have up-to-date computers, which are obsolete by the time they're in action. It's going to cost billions to get everybody connected, and every time there's a new breakthrough in the computers, we've got to do it. Someday, yes, but the responsible thing is to first do studies to see if it works, and then adapt it when we know it works. I'm a big fan of technology. Someday it's going to make a huge difference, but right now we don't yet have the data. On the other hand, we have an astonishing amount of data that access to books and libraries really, really does help. Thank you very much.